Hi there. So I'm in France, as you can probably tell by the sunshine and my hot weather hat. And I'm going to give you a quick tour of Collioure, which features in my Jack Josine novel, The Collioure Coincidence. So here's a quick guide to the town, and I'll point out the features that were, I think they're the 20s and are a big part of the novel. So I'll start with a general view back across the bay of Collioure. So Jack wouldn't come to this side of the bay, but it gives you a good view of the town that I'm going to be walking into. There's the Chateau Royal, great big castle there. There's the old town at the top of the hill. There's the fort, Fort Mirabeau. There is the bell tower of the church, which used to be a lighthouse. Now it's a church. Okay, so that's the general layout. There's the seawall going out to the little island with the chapel on it, and there's the harbour wall that emerges from that. Okay, so I'll go into that part of town now and show you around. Okay, that's the Catholic church at the edge of Rue du Temple. That was built in 1895, so that was there when Jack visits. And that ramp there is the start of Rue du Temple, where Jack and Josine go in order to find someone to interview. And that's where I'm going to go right now. And now we're on Rue Lamartine. Rue du Temple leads to this. You've got houses to your left there. So in one of those houses, or a house based on one of these houses, shall we say, there'll be somewhere Jack needs to investigate. And there you have the railway embankment. And we can just make out the electric wires of the railway line up there. That's the railway embankment. And now looking back down to Rue Lamartine. Obviously, there'd been no shiny cars around in these streets in those days. Might have been a few cars, but it wouldn't look like that. Right, let's get back to the main part of town now and see what we can find. So this is the bridge that Jack and Josine stand on their first evening in Collioure. There's Café Solar, which was there in the 20s and is there now. And this is the dry riverbed. Now in the 20s this would still have been a riverbed with stones and silt. It was straightened further and widened in the 60s, I believe, after some flooding. So it's dry in the summer and presumably gets wet in the winter and after a storm. Down there is the Med at the end of the river. And there's the Chateau Royal, and that car park would once have been the bullfighting arena. That would have been there. And there is La Frégate, which is one of Jack and Josine's first ports of call. And that opened in 1923, so that would have been there for them as well. Okay, let's get on further into Collioure now. And one of my favourite places in Collioure, Bar les Templiers, which back in 1925 had a different name. That was Maison Fontano, which features quite extensively in the novel. So I mentioned Catalan fishing boats, and here they are. There's a few that still survive. I don't think they're fishing anymore. I'll describe a lateen sail. That's what a lateen sail looks like. So if you can imagine, the beach will have been absolutely covered with these in the 20s. There's still a fishing fleet here then. And they would mostly just pull them ashore at the beach. This harbour mouth wouldn't particularly have existed. This sea wall was part of the improvements they made in the 60s, so this was not here in the 1920s. Okay, I don't know if you can make this out. The glare from the sun's quite strong here. Good view there of the church, Notre Dame des Anges, and there's the seafront here. Covered in pavement cafes now. It wouldn't have been then, of course. And like I say, this beach will have been covered with the boats of the fishing fleet when they weren't actually out at sea. So a key part of the novel is Fauvistic art, and here's an example of some posters around town. That's a view of the church by Darkisle, and next to that, a view out of the balcony by his mate Matisse. Okay, that's Fauvistic art for you. Right, so now at the point where the boulevard along the shore has narrowed, there is the kind of castle-y looking villa that Jack spots. To our right, to the back of the church, and it was walking around this corner that Jack and Josine discover the site where something happened. I won't say what. case you've not read the story yet. And this road here is where the police roadblock, I guess, was in place. Here's a little cove. There you can see the breakwater leading out to a little island with the chapel on it. And there's the sea. Right, I don't think you can make it out, but that's the road sign for Rue Françoise Arago. And I called this Rue Arago in the first draft of the novel, and now I've just spotted that its old name was Carrière del Mort, which I think is Catalan for the way of death or something, which is a really good name for a Lovecraftian setting, so I'm going to change it to that. So by the time you read the novel, this is Carrière del Mort, otherwise known as Rue Françoise Arago.